All right, everyone, welcome back. Day 3 for our QASD training. So, a lot of topics to cover. We're going through them one by one. I don't think we've yet discussed the theory aspects of Jira, more of a Scrum, sprint cycles. How was the agile Kanban methodologies come into it, and so on. We will team. I don't want to jump into it too much right away. We will keep using Jira along the parallel with what we're doing on the side to a large extent, and we'll be able to get a good idea by then. Okay, so let's keep working with Jira. Now, what we did in yesterday's session was very simple. We spoke about how we want to write a user story use case, either as a document in a tabular format or with screenshots and all, or we could also put it into an Excel spreadsheet. And it basically tells me exactly what is it that I'm doing. All right. So these steps, what we want to perform, specific actions are noted so that it is clear for everyone in the team and everyone kind of approaches the whole process of testing using some standard process methodologies. All right. So we've defined the test case idea description, saying that each test case could have many steps and what is it that we're trying to achieve in each step. So as we keep testing these applications, we can talk about actual and expected versus actual and what we're doing, the results that we've got, if it's a pass or a fail, and overall what other details can we produce about the error if there's one. All right. Now, what did we do with Jira team? So we said all this is good, this documentation and so on, what we are saying, what we do, but how do we share it with team? How do we have a team collaborate on the same tasks? So I might have a typical Scrum team consists of, do anyone know team? Does anyone want to tell me who all are there as part of a Scrum team? And they have very specific finite jobs in it. So this team meets daily for about 30 minutes, stand up, okay, with clear MOMs, minutes of meeting in it. I'm just looking at the chat for now. So every project, IT project, we consist of certain things, right? Typical Scrum team. So it's a IT team, not usually between how many members would be there in a Scrum team? These are the regular guidelines team. In one team, typically how many members are there in each team? MOM is minutes of meeting of what we are doing, how we are progressing, and so on. Yes, anywhere between, I would say 4 to 10 members usually. 4 is too small, more than 10 becomes very large to manage because you have limited work trying to do in faster sprint releases, we call. These are shorter, faster to the market. So what happens through this is you get quick customer feedback and goes back into the next sprint cycles. So if you make some errors or mistakes, or if you need to make some improvements on an application, we do it as part of sprint cycles. So these are usually about 2 to 4 weeks each sprint cycle. So the sprint cycle starts with, actually we can also Google. It basically has a plan, it has a schedule, okay, and we'll talk about a project charter and how it goes through the team members and a scope of activities, what is in scope, out of scope for that sprint. So this talks about scope is nothing but the specific features or what they need to develop. Now let's talk about who are the members in it. So let us say we want to build a small application. Like I was saying, we can use a lot of applications team. I've heard from Ramu that some of you are like asking why are we using salesforce.com again since we used it in a previous one. Uh, I think the reason we're doing a team is very simple. I have to fix this. I don't know why this error is coming. The reason is very simple. Um, Give me a second. What was it talking about? The application and the test, right? Number one, SFD, Salesforce.com is a lot in demand team. So when you go for interviews, I want you to mention that yes, I've worked a little bit on Salesforce.com. Plus, we will keep changing. We will add more applications as well. One of the applications that we will look at is Anyot. Now, did you notice we got this error for Anyot? Okay, so that could be one of the tickets or activities or task that we raise. So all I will do here, I'll take a screenshot. Okay, and then in the screenshot, I'm going to highlight certain things. Let's say like this, not secure. Now, this becomes an important activity, but it does not have, I didn't actually finish this. Um, okay, so one of the tasks. So I go to Jira. In Jira, we're talking about the November SDIT that we created. And I think, Umesh, did you create this Salesforce project? Must have been correct. Very good. It'll be nice to look at it. Let's go to November SDIT for now. This is on goitlearn.atlassian.net. Okay. So I've not added everyone yet, team. And like I said, I will be spending a little bit more time. I don't have the confirmed members list. Once I get that people, then I can do it. So see here we have test case 1, test case 2, and this is my sprint 1. Okay, that I said. So sprint 1 means one cycle. How many dates did we put for this, everyone? 3 days remaining. Now to the sprint cycle, what if you want to add more? Where is it? Board, edit sprint. So this is the schedule that we have. So I'm going to move the schedule to 20 and I'll say that um, changed the schedule to handle web dev task also. Now that web dev task has to go to a developer. Okay. So now I have 6 days remaining in this. Um, I'm not going to say complete sprint in it. I'm trying to kind of create a new story under November SDET. Okay, so here is where we are talking about creating an issue team. So in Jira, everything is considered kind a type of as an issue, or you can call it as a task, one item of one deliverable. So there are these types of deliverables here, team. So I clicked on that. So Epic is a huge story, and that is usually broken down into smaller pieces of stories. Okay, and stories track functionality or features expressed as user goals. So, for example, the one that we put here is a story. So I said this is a story of how application user will. Hmm. This is the one we wrote, and I put it here. And I said user management test case 001. So this is for logging into Salesforce and what we want to do here and so on. Now this is created as a story. Do you see this, team? The green mark. So here this becomes a story. Now you can also put it as an issue, team. Issue in the sense that this is a defect. So when creating a new issue or story or an item, I can say this issue type is a defect. Okay, so I'll call this as a bug, and I'll say security permission needed during page load. Okay, and I have, oops, let me control C if I say and do a control V. Oh, it's coming up like this thumbnail. Why can't I just attach a screenshot? What is this? One second, I'm just seeing where else. Oh, image, there you go. It already came in, team. I'm going to remove one of them. Is this the one? I think so. 11, 12. Today is the 12th, correct. 1721. One second, everyone. So I'm creating this as, and I'll say that, you can say what kind of a severity of the issue it is also, team. Where is it that I'm going to mention this? Okay, bug, summary, description, assignee. Now see, this is by default assigned to either me or the only few members that I've recently added to the team. So Mesh, I'm assuming you're there in the meeting. I didn't notice the name. Just say hi if you are, please. And I can assign it to Mesh, and let's see what labels I can give to it. Basically, these are internal labels that we can create, team. I will say um, L1, level 1, defect. Okay, and maybe a comma or a tab. We'll take it as a labels. So you can always categorize or search issues based on certain labels as well. So sprint, Jira sprint software field. Sprint is there, no? This is the one. November sprint one, that is active. Sprint scope will be affected by this action, absolutely. Story point estimate. We'll come to the story point estimations also, team, later. Basically, there are multiple ways, team, to estimate. Looking at the requirement, we should be able to say how long it will take. Okay, so here is the screenshot, and linked issues is blocked by, is cloned by. So if there's any other Jira ticket or issue that is linked to this defect, then we can say. So I can say is blocked by, and you can select which one. You have only one there, test case 001. You can take that and say that it is linked to this, but I'm not saying that's linked right now. Okay, so blocks, just leave it as is. And flagged impediment. Impediment is basically a showstopper. It is a go no go, and you don't want to launch something without that, let us say. So I'll say impediment and create. So now you have a third one created, team. So each one looks like a card. Okay, and this has a screenshot attached to it, so that is why it's showing. This doesn't have a screenshot into it, team. So that's why it doesn't have anything. So if I go to the description and let's say test case, this is the one, correct? If I take a simple screenshot and I'll say test case, this, okay, and go back here and let's put it up. All right, so that's done. I'm going to save this, and it's actually giving a lot of guidance, team, but I didn't take a look at it, so I think we should. Um, Let me just refresh once. I expected it to show a thumbnail also for that. It's not actually. It's showing for this. I don't know why it's not showing for the other. It should, if there is. So you can move these. So if someone is working on it, I can say, oh, you know what? Someone is working on it. It moves to the next bucket that it is in progress. So we created like a 4-step process or 4 buckets or 4 phases in this. The first is the starting one. Every item that we add through create will get added to the to do in part of that specific sprint that has a basic specific defined timeline. And then once we are starting to work or assign to someone, it goes into in progress. And one second, which version of Jira? Not sure, Shanti. Just log into the, I'm using the cloud version. Whatever is the latest one would be there, right? It's not a downloaded version. And then in progress is the ones which any of the team members are actively working. Once it's done here, it can go to QA review. Like someone from the QA team can review. I can move my tasks, issues, and any development activities that I need from into different buckets. So that buckets are important. Finally, if it's in done, that means it is executed. So see, so for this sprint one, okay, I'll say example. We didn't talk about the IT team. Who all are the members? Let me finish. So we have the someone called as a product owner, usually, or a project owner who owns that. There is a scrum master who basically is taking care of ensuring everyone in the team is working using specified process methodologies, sprint cycles. Everything is nicely being followed as per the scrum methodologies. So that's the job of a scrum master. Then you have your business, um, you have your BS, business analysts, who do the activity of documenting and putting together the requirements, which can later then be taken by the technical dev team to work on progress. Then we have a QA team to test. Who else do we have team? Anyone else? Then we have a CI/CD. Someone has to do those activities, and the overall DevOps. How do we package, release, containerize, and do a lot of things there. So sometimes if this is small teams, the product owner might also be the scrum master and the business analyst. So you basically have one product owner, one scrum master, one BA, 3 to 4 developers, 1 to 2 QA, then 1 or 2 people in actually one for the CI/CD DevOps. Okay, so that's the distribution usually. All right, team. Now, so small team, they get together daily and go through a lot of things. So the product owner, scrum masters, business analyst may be spread across multiple sprint teams. They don't need to be working on one team only. So now, what was I saying in November? Yeah, Scrum of Scrum Masters and so on. Out of scope, so we spoke about it. So we spoke about how we are moving tasks, creating issues, stories slash epics or bugs in Jira, and how we go take it through the sprint cycle. So every day the team has to keep updating, add comments, and say what is the progress. So when we meet on a daily basis as a team, sprint team, the minutes of meeting are on the progress. What is happening here? Why are we stuck here? Is there something I can do? Who should help? So the product owner might be able to quickly make some calls or emails and get someone's attention and solve this issue at a hosting end. So that's how the teams are slowly formed on work together team. All right. So we will continue to use the same sprint cycle. We'll keep adding, we'll keep learning more and more about it as we go along. Let's get into the concept of why we are working on automation team. What is this whole process? Manual testing, where does it break? Or, what are the uh, fallbacks of it? Where is it that it is failing us? So we need to discuss these team and to be able to understand how we put it into which tools do we have to go through. Okay, tools and methodologies. All right. So when it comes to manual testing, everyone, there is this whole plethora of things. Now, let me show you, for example, this is Anyot. And if I log in, I think it has, why it's not remembering my password? One second, it should know my password. Hmm, forgot password. Ting, 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 ting. I should have had created one team. Let us use login to Salesforce and check once. And team, if you like some other applications, we need a lot of applications to work through for the next few days. So let me know if we need something else there. So I've logged into my Salesforce. Trial has ended, and your account is in read-only mode, and that is absolutely fine also for me, team, if it's in read-only mode. Okay. Some of these applications are not easily automatable, and that could be a challenge, everyone. So yeah, we did a few leads, contacts, and so on. I don't want you to spend too much time on the AUT functionality. Okay. Only limited to what is needed for our learning. That should be the focus, everyone. Now, when you look at this application, there's so many things you can do. Can anyone roughly estimate and tell me how many test cases might be there for such an application like Salesforce, which you can go and maintain a lot of information about something called leads, which is each contact, individual, or a company. And then we have accounts. Accounts are in active status. They may be giving you revenue or clients and so on. Specific contact details of individuals that you want to maintain. Opportunities are sales leads. Like, this month we have 10 new customers that we're planning to win, and the details of them will be here. Once they become a customer, maybe they'll move into accounts. Cases could be anything. It could be a ticket, an issue, or anything that needs resolution to be assigned as part of execution. Any tasks that have to be put together for you with reminders, specific categories, certain level of automation of tasks, a decent calendar, a good report to tell you what can be done, and a dashboard. Okay, so how many test cases might be there, team, for such a large application? Can you guesstimate? And in the meanwhile, let me see, is this the third session? As this is my first time, if I miss any, can I review the previous recorded ones? Surely, yes. So youtube.com/qtp learn for sure. So that's one. You have everything in the videos there, whatever we've uploaded. I'll put that into chat. The second is, please visit go.itlearn.com and visit All courses and team, I've not got an answer to what I just asked. How many test cases? Only 3 or 4 of you answered. How many test cases could be there for a big application? You don't have to be right, just guess. When I say test cases, each test case should be able to do something unique with the application. Okay, so we're saying, for example, am I able to add a lead? Am I able to delete a lead, edit a lead, import a lead, add to campaign, change the status, change owner? So each of them could be one test case by itself, team. There you go. Thank you. Much better. So I think 60, 75. I'm just reading out the answers. 100 to 200, 3,000, 200, hundreds definitely in thousands, close to 1,000 plus, more than 5,000. I think definitely in hundreds, team. Okay. So what we do is it becomes very large for us to do an estimation overall. So what we do is we break down an application under test into modules or specific focus areas. So each one becomes something different for us to handle. So I will say the home page is one module. Okay, here. This is second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th. And I'll say user settings, login, password, all these things, edit profile is the other thing. So 11th, 12th, so about 11 to 12 modules. Okay. Example, in sfdsalesforce.com, we can do at least 11 to 12 different modules. So we are able to better not only estimate, but also work on our projects. Now, for each module, if I go to leads, there may be a dozen test cases. Each module may have 1 to 2 dozen test cases. So we're saying 10 to 30, 2.5, I'll say. So that's about average of 15 per module, let us say. Now, so here, let's freeze it at 12 different modules. Now, how many total test cases, team? Equals number of modules times number of test cases. That equals 12 times 15. Any math genius here? Okay, let's do 12 times 10 is 120. Half of it is 60. So 120 plus 60 is 180. So 180 test cases. And you add a few more. These are all functional test cases. Okay. Functional or UI. What is UI, team? Everyone, user interface. User interface is the keyword that we use very often because we need to know where we will click. If I click here, what do I see? What do I get? What I'm expecting to see? So you're always interacting with the screen. So that is a user interface. We can also call it as GUI, graphical user interface. So this is functional or UI test cases, about 180. Okay. Then there would be certain things called as mobile app testing. Either it's a dedicated an app or it could be a mobile based native app or a hybrid app, team. If not 180, maybe 120 test cases with limited features in the mobile app. Any other types of testing that are needed? What are the other types of testing that are needed? What tools we use like APM or Selenium, that is different. Before we get into automation, let's talk about manually first. Cross browser also will be part of the functional testing itself. So this is called, I'll tell you what is regression testing. We'll come to regression in a bit. Okay, developers do some kind of unit testing by dev team. They will do, I will just say about, 50 test cases. They are also testing it at their end. What else? Load, performance test. We have to run to see how strong is the application, how much can it handle, and so on. That's an important one. I'm sorry. For this, we are not necessarily testing it for all the 180 test cases. I take a smoke test suite, which is basically 25 top user stories to test. Okay. Yeah, so sanity test or other things like system testing, kind of mixed in their team. We are also component testing is more of based on little bit module or integrations. But in general, these are the ones. Of course, then we have the API testing that also does a little bit of database testing we could do, backend testing that we can call. So that we will, so for load or performance, I don't need to perform it on everything. I'll identify the 25 smoke tests on which I will run performance. In fact, not even 25, maybe just 5. Sometimes it's just the client requirement. Sorry. Okay. Now, team, so contents testing, user acceptance testing. So UAT is very much again done. User acceptance testing is very similar to smoke test, but it can be done by different team business users too. Okay, or even QA teams could. When QA team sits and does it, it's more like smoke testing that we do. Now, with so many tests that happen, how frequently? So each test cycle is this. That means if we are doing what we call as releases, which could be sprint releases, which means that a new version with certain feature changes are coming in every 2 to 4 weeks, correct? So if this is happening, so from version 1.18 will be version 1.19 in 2 weeks time. If there releases, if there are delays in that sprint, then it will get extended a little bit more. Let's do some very simple estimation, team. Okay. When I say this estimation, it's an estimation. It has certain signs to it. it does not necessarily mean that they all will be true. Over a period of time, your estimation becomes more fact-based and metric-based and observation-based rather than just estimation, which is blind estimation. So we have some intelligence behind it. I'll explain API testing role later, Nazima, not right now. But primarily what happens with is applications, you have interacting for 25 API calls where it gets latest API responses, request responses, and verifies if they match what it is expecting. Okay, so these are all like get, push, put, and what kind of a response code we get. 1 series, 200, 300, 404 errors, 500 server errors, and so on. So it tells us how the applications are behaving or what is being returned to us without a UI. Any need of a user interface. So we don't need to see things. Only data is being exchanged using requests. And we call this as REST assured for Java or REST APIs, REST protocols. So SOAP was another protocol which was famous earlier with XML. So we use now a lot of APIs, RESTful APIs with JSON format. It also does XML, but we'll focus on JSON. And for this, we need tools like Postman to understand and how we build our own custom API framework. And that'll be interesting. Okay, so version 1.18 requires how many days of effort? Let's erase this drawing. So estimation, I'll say. Now, what are we estimating, team? Remember this. Is it preparation of the test case? When I say test case, I'll put everything as a test case, each of these activities, okay? Or execution of the test case. Can someone tell me what do I mean by execution of the test case? By unmuting and speaking about it. It's a very important thing. Or reporting on the test case post execution, of course. So what do I mean by execution, everyone? Okay, I have some hands raised. Thank you. I would love to hear team your answers if possible. Anyone with hands? A little bit more than 2 words. Alemu? Zahid?
Execution is supposed to mean how you, when you write in test cases, you execute whether it's pass or fail. And if there is issue, you log in.
Okay, I can say.
Yes, please.
Yeah, let me try. I think the execution is to test the ready testers to go through the test. It's just actual testing.
Okay. Thank you. Who else, please? You're right.
Hi, just I would like to add, execution is to verify the various flows and scenarios that we have prepared in our test case.
Nice. Nice. Anyone else would like to add? I didn't unmute.
If I could say in just a simple words, it is just like running the test steps we have written.
Yes, absolutely. And that is true, team, because executing is to execute test or go through the test or actual test or to report results and so on. Absolutely yes. But we have to go through step by step, running the test steps that have been well documented in the proper order, everything in the proper order along with the proper test data. So there is a lot of activity involved into it, team. Preparation of the test case, we are saying documenting what is needed exactly with test steps, test data, expected results. Correct, everyone? So that is a documentation. And for reporting of the test case or post execution is to either log an error with details, screenshots, then reproduction steps so that the developer can easily go through and try and um, identify the defect that yes, it is happening. Reproduction steps, what else is there? And then you could also do categorization and entering into your project tools like Jira or HPALM or putting it into GitHub under some local folders. All that we could do. So there is a lot about estimation, team. It's just not each of this. Now, preparation of the test case. So now let's talk about what is regressions. Okay, this will be very interesting, team. So then you will get to know that, oh, this is a huge activity that needs to be done regularly. So version 1.18 requires how many hours of testing? So here, let us, okay, still there. So average, I will say, to write such a test case by looking at the application. Can you tell me, team, what do you think? How long does it take to write a test case? Team, you can chat, you can answer, feel free. And anyone wants to be unmuted all the time, raise your hand, I will unmute you. You can stay muted at your end. How many minutes will it take? We wrote yesterday 2 of them. Just an estimate. Let's see. 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 11 to 60 minutes. You're right, team. 5 minutes. I think 5 minutes will be a little low because you also have to go to the application and test and check exactly what is it that you need to do and then put it back, and you need to verify the test data. Half an hour means that we've spent a lot of time on one test case. Rather, I would say 45 minutes is too much time. Half an hour is still acceptable. Maybe 20 minutes average, I would say. Okay, we have everything, so I will say 20 minutes, but worst case, let's put some buffer and say 30 minutes average time. Now that means how many? 2 TCs per hour. Okay, so 1 per human hour when I say, or person hour. So 1 person sitting for 1 hour can finish 2 test cases. Now execution of the test case on the application. How long will it take? To go and read each of this and work on the application, make sure your observation is correct, and perform the task. I think roundabout it should take the same amount of time it took to prepare, but the application has to load. We have to perform those steps. It may be around the same, I would say, team. Okay, is that fine? time is 30 minutes, and I could do 2 test cases per person hour. One person sitting for 1 hour can finish 2 test cases. Then the third one, report on the test case. If it is a pass, no problem. If it is a fail, then there is a problem. Okay, so I will say for pass, it'll just take me 5 minutes. For fail, we have to document and put everything. It'll take us 15 minutes. And I'll say average 3 pass, 1 fail. That equals 15 plus 15, that is 30 minutes per 4 TCs. That's fine, right? So we're finishing about 8 test cases in an hour. This is 15. Yeah. 3 pass plus 1 fail. I'm just saying 25%. It is still very far-fetched. So that is 8 test cases per hour. So we are able to report things faster. Is everyone with me? Anyone feel we are not on focus or anything that is anything confusing, team? Whatever we're doing, we kind of writing down what we need to do. Now, on an average, total test scenarios, I'll say. Now, some are functional testing scenarios. Come on. So 180, 120, 300, 300 here, 100, 400, maybe another 50. I'll say about 500 test cases or scenarios that we need to do. Okay. These are functional testing that we are doing, system or functional testing there. All right. So on an average, for each release, so release, now look, requires how many hours of testing? Again, version 1.19 requires how many hours of testing? Now let me take a diagram and draw this. Think of this box as the entire application scope. Okay, team? So everything that we did in terms of functionality should be in here. Now this is version 1. Okay. Now when I did version 1, sorry, it almost became 2. Okay. In this, each module has a different thing that it is doing. Okay, they're performing different tasks, they have different scope, there are different number of test cases in each, and so on. Now when I go to version 2, the next version, what I did is I changed this portion here. I deleted one out here. I added something in here. Okay, I added something. So there was a change in the application. There was a deletion of old functionality that people didn't want to use. Let us say tomorrow someone will come and say that, you know what, cases and tasks are almost the same. Let us merge them into one. So what will happen? You will delete one module, but the size of another module may increase. Now, so there are 3 things that we did, team. You have changed, you have deleted something, you have added something. Now, in version 1, you're testing all of this. Now, in version 2, what will you test? This is 1, 2, 3. What will you test? Will you test what has changed? Of course. Yes, correct everyone. Will you definitely test what has been deleted? Yes, to see that it has actually been deleted. We don't want it to be shown. Then will you test what has been added? Of course, that is a new one. We will more than test it. We will test it twice. We have to also write new test cases for it. Okay, done. Now, is that all, team, or do we have to do anything? We still have to go about testing all the other test cases. Every test case must get tested as well. So it is almost a retest, and that is called as a regression. Now look at the amount of effort, team. Okay, so for each release with average of, and I'm assuming that the test cases have already been prepared. We just have to execute, that is 2 test cases per hour, and report, that is 8 test cases per hour. With average of, how many do we have? Let us say now 500 test cases. So look, estimation will do. Regression testing is to retest and the entire application again, not just the changes, deletions, and additions, not just. Okay, so that's a regression testing. Now, estimation. I'm sorry. First, number of test cases that we have. So we have different types of test cases, but we've put them together, 500. All right, good. I have one clarity. Now, average time per TC is 2.25. So because we need to do 2 test cases here per hour and 8 here. So okay. All right. 2 test cases per hour means average time per test case here. Just being clear. Execution is 2 per hour. So 500 equals how many hours, team? Can you tell me? Then reporting is 8 per hour. So for 500, it will be how many hours? I need these 2 answers immediately from your side. Quick math, everyone. If there are 2 per hour, so 500 test cases, how many? 500 test cases, how many hours? That's our total. So that's right, team. 250 hours here, 500 by 2, then 500 by 8. So that's 62.5 hours. So that's in total 312.5 hours is the amount of testing required. Okay. Now, time is given as 1 week. So 1 week is you've got 40 hours per person. So team size required will be, and this is QA team size required. Test case preparation time, I'm not putting it in this case. I'm already saying that I've gone to the next release and so on. So even without that, I'm saying how much time it will take. Because in every release, you may not prepare test cases. You may change them a few, 90% may not even change. So that effort may not be there every time. Anyone came up? If it is 320, it is 8. So I would say about, so 8 people QA, 8 people QA team, 8 member. Hmm. Is that correct, team? We did 312.5 divided by 40. What does it show us? 312. Oopsie. 312.5 divided by 40. 7.8. Yeah, so almost 8 member team is required. So for each release, they need to spend 312.5 person hours with a 8 member QA team. That will be a lot of effort, team. And that is without any breaks, without any deviation, assuming few things. One, human does not get tired. Human does not make mistakes, because if you make a mistake, that's a critical thing. What if you let a defect slip through to production or live and customer comes back screaming? So we are assuming that human does not get tired, human does not make mistakes, and human does not require um, any assistance, because it constantly they may keep coming up with questions and new things and so on. So this is a big, humongous task for any IT team. Why? Because although the changes are small, they cannot release without testing everything. We don't know what could have broken somewhere. That is something that is important for us, team. I'm sorry, having a lot of cold. Okay, so now we're getting towards the point, team. So why automation? See, we know that teaching a robot, when I say robot, a simple program or a tool, auto tool, to do our manual tasks is not easy. That is number one. Okay. Why not automation, we will say. Okay. Then we will come to why automation. Then can we rely on them that what they did is correct? Third thing, do they need supervision? Every time you have to watch what it is doing correct or not, and so on. And I'm sorry, what else? They cannot do certain activities that humans can do. Sure. So that's another drawback that we have. Okay. What else could be the drawback? Anyone else? Can be expensive to put in place. Humans may lose jobs. Now, so, but there are certain things we know for sure. I'm sorry. It's okay. What is for sure? It can be very fast, team. faster than human. I think that is one of its big plus. So the speed, in the sense that what has to be done in 312 hours maybe can be done much, much quicker, maybe in 30 hours. Okay, that could be a big thing. So it is primarily very efficient that way. All right. Second, and think of these things like a automation factory sometimes. It doesn't definitely, I mean, automation is not something just related with IT team. It started way back with industries where manufacturing was being automated. Shop floors were being converted by all human intensive labor to a certain amount of robots, machinery, and humans. To today, a lot of these productions are being done by complete robots in manufacturing, car manufacturing, device manufacturing, cellular phones manufacturing. All of these places you'll see there's so much robotics involved, or just devices that they're doing things. Now, they are reusable. That is correct. So they are put in place once and you can use it over and over again. And they're usually accurate, team, because once it is programmed, right, very low chances of failure from there. If it is, then yeah, constant improvement. So that becomes ERA. That's correct, team. And that is fundamental thumb rules. Efficient, reusable, you build it once and you make it again, and it needs to be accurate. So it needs to give us, it needs to make us feel confident that we have done something. Yes, it'll help us to save a lot of human capital and expensive resources. Sorry, team, I'm having a very bad cough. Okay, sorry. So there's one more thing I wanted to mention here, team. So look at this. We're talking about what all from version 1 to version 2. There is a little bit of business analysis involved. There's development involved. There is QA involved. So only QA is 312 hours of effort. But there could be so much more to do, right, team, for each of these activities. So there must be a large sized 100 people sitting and working on this consistently. So weekly, every release, they have series of tasks to perform. Okay. And a flow of activities linked to each other, and how the final release happens through the to the customer. Now this part of it is the continuously we are integrating our solution through this pipeline and continuously delivering. Okay, so without halting machines, without halting operations or anything, with certain rules, processes, methodologies, tools like Jenkins, GitHub, Docker, Kubernetes, and so on, we are able to do this and then perform development operations or DevOps. Overall, the picture, how the entire cycle happens. In fact, if you look at DevOps image, let's say, it'll show you these. We can take any of these and talk about. See, okay, look. Nice. Just want the image. Okay, so here is a constant cycle that is going on. There is a plan. You see the plan team, like a project plan, a project charter, who will work, what do we do, what's in scope, and so on. A scrum schedule, a sprint plan. And then we get into a code. We build the solution with that code. We test the solution. We release the solution into our internal servers, deploy it, operate that solution at the customer end, be able to visually monitor virtualizations and so on, and then come back to the next cycle of plan. Let that become inputs to what has to be done in the next cycle. So this is a constant activity that happens in DevOps. And as part of that, there are many tools and processes that our teams use. Now, what has happened for QA? A QA engineer needs to have a good basic idea on all the other Scrum roles. So it's just not QA and automation testing team. And that is the main reason I've put together a larger list of tools that I believe we should all learn. Okay, now, so this becomes very, very critical. Now imagine what is it that corporations are looking. Okay, end of it, we're talking to them as, we call them as clients or end implementation. Where are we doing it? It could be a bank, it could be a mortgage company, a healthcare, a hospital, entertainment, insurance, media, any companies, right? Now, what is their end goal? To be able to having happy customers, right? Happy customers means they have to uh, be earlier, the speed was not so much. Now there is speed to market, to delight the customers with new features even before they think that they want. Look at Facebook or WhatsApp, how they have grown, how they've kept on adding features even before we realize. We know that. That is the research that they do to come up. And they need to be able to rely on internal operations with a certainty. They don't want too many superheroes or super applications and having no control. Complete control and visibility to top level management. So whatever we are doing should be able to get reflected directly. So this application is large. They don't want to make it like a white elephant which can never be tamed. They would want to focus and control on it with a very nice smart control team. So they will have groups of team members. They're all working in a similar direction. And what becomes important for them is to automate a lot of process, not just around QA team, even being around DevOps, on CI/CD, data management, a little bit of machine learning AI that teams want to get into, and there is QA automation as well. There is workflow automation. So more and more companies are now looking to have that control where they're able to run tests, look at who is doing what versions are coming. So people, product, features, release cycles, uh, operations, escalations. So all that is handy for the senior management to take very quick market decisions. And that is pushing. It is not just something that, um, everyone is doing QA, let us do QA automation. Not at all, team. They want faster to market. They want reliability. They want traceability, ownership, and all this. That can be only achieved by complete automation. There will be certain areas where we cannot, but there will be a lot of areas where we can. So, team, I think tomorrow now, when we come back, let's take a look at why Selenium, and I will give what was special about HP QTP. I want to talk about that. And then we will go into Selenium IDE, element identification, and frameworks. Did you like the session, team, today's? Did you get a good clarity on what we are doing to be able to put things into perspective? So it is not just one test case that is important for us. There'll be hundreds like this. We have to collaborate with a team, and every release, we have to produce some awesome work, awesome amount of automation that has to be achieved. All right, great. Any other questions, team? I will come to DevOps automation process. Let us get there. As long as you have a very basic idea of it, it's fine now. Let's look at it more from a tools perspective. And see, if I'm a CEO of a company or a VP of IT, I want to be able to quickly see on my cell phone, how is my team doing? What is it that they're working on? I'm at the customer side waiting for a meeting. I want to be able to promise a date and timeline. So earlier there were days when someone had to send a report on Outlook, mail, and we have to open up the Excel pivot table, look at spreadsheets, and make the judgment. Now we can see a lot of visually things, and that's some fantastic report things that we can see with tools like Jira. Great, team. That's it for now. I would see you all tomorrow. I have not started anything in practice yet, but if there's any Q&A that we can do, or maybe I'll split you into teams and do a little bit of training tomorrow. Okay. So, okay, what is the difference between a product owner and a business analyst? Right. So, business analyst is someone who has to convert the requirements given by the product owner into proper documents that can be understood and executed on by the remaining development team and the QA team for preparing everything. Product owner is the visionary, is overall accountable for the product, is owning the product, and is deciding as to what features should come in, what features should not, and so on. And then once that decision is made, it is given to the BA to come up with clear specifications of it. Okay, so we will be doing a lot of manual testing, team, but through automation. It'll always be on code from now on, using coding and so on, but we will work on a lot of manual testing too. So if you're not too much into automation yet, don't worry, we will get into it now. Okay, thanks everyone. We'll see you back tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you. Bye all.